All right, we're going to be previewing the Cincinnati Bengals today. We're going through Warren Sharp's book. You should go get it. Go to Warren Sharp stuff. Go get his book. This is a digital version. You can also get the big boy. I have the big one right here next to me. Look at, I know you guys know because I show it every single time, but look at this thing. Look how thick that book is. Got all sorts of goodies in there, especially if you're a football fan, and more importantly, if you're betting on these games. But yeah, the Bengals. Well, we know how last season ended, right? The Bengals just couldn't figure it out. Their defense sucked. They had a little resurgence at the end of the season. I don't know if you guys saw the Netflix series, the quarterback series this year that came out a couple weeks ago. They go over it in there, but they got hot. They ended up finishing the season 9-8, above 500, but missed the playoffs because the Broncos were able to beat the Chiefs when the Chiefs were playing their third stringers. And so the Broncos snuck in and the Bengals were left out. So they missed the playoffs last season. 7 years already for Zach Taylor. This is 7th year. I didn't realize Zach Taylor called the plays. Now that makes a lot of sense. They got a new defensive coordinator because last year was just horrific. Al Golden is the new defensive coordinator. Hopefully they can help him out. They ended up drafting a defensive end, Shamar Stewart, right, with their first round pick. Had some drama with him about signing his contract. He eventually signed, so they're good. Trey Henderson is in disputes with them, but he reported to camp, and we'll see. We'll see what they can do. They got a brutal stretch there, as you can see, from weeks 13 through 15. So let's start there. One thing that we like to look at is, and Warren Sharp talks about a lot in this book, is rest advantage and disadvantage throughout the season. So overall, let's see. The Bengals have 1, 2, 3 games this season where they play at a rest disadvantage, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4 games where they're actually at a rest advantage. So net, they have 1 game rest edge on for the season. What up, Mighty Megatron? He says O-line is terrible, defense is atrocious. Yes, but can they fix it? There's a lot of interesting things in here that we're going to get into about some of the stuff that Burrow does, which seems like they could change it and make it better, but I don't know if they're gonna. We'll see. Lost a lot of key players though. They lost Sam Hubbard, edge rusher, cornerback Mike Hilton, right guard Alex Kappa ended up going to the Raiders. Sheldon Rankins is gone. Trent Brown, another. I mean, the offensive line wasn't great, but it wasn't like Houston bad. It wasn't too terrible. But speaking of Houston, Trent Brown said, "See ya, I'm going down to Houston." Lost. I didn't even realize Von Bell was still playing in the league. Lost him and some other key players down there. They didn't really have much cap space to make any free agent moves. They were too busy re-signing their own guys as they ended up paying Higgins. He got his $33 million a year. So him, Burrow, and Chase are making a majority of the money on this team. But they were able to sign a couple guys. They got Daryl Slayton, interior defensive lineman, and then a couple other pieces. Samaje Perine is back in Cincy. Look at that. Draft, like I said, they drafted Shamar Stewart out of A&M. Good defensive edge rusher there, and they need it. Linebacker out of South Carolina, Demetrius Knight. Then they took a guard from Georgia, a big boy from Georgia, Dylan Fairchild. And then a couple other guys. Once we get past the third round, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. What up, Bong Time? It's been a minute, buddy. I hope you're doing well. Oh, there it is. I haven't seen that in a while. Roman games of the past to keep you sheep distracted and your tiny minds entertained. This is true. This is true. I need it, man. I need it. I need a little distraction. Glad you're here, buddy. Okay, here we go. Earlier this summer, I saw an unbelievable stat about Paul Skeens, a young pitcher. So basically, and this was interesting, he compares Paul Skeens and Joe Burrow. So Paul Skeens had just 19 earned runs and 13 starts, but the team had lost 8 of those games. And Warren Sharp posted on his X, like, who does this remind you of? And overwhelmingly, more than 1 million people engaged with that tweet. But overwhelmingly, they compared Paul Skeens to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow just puts up the stats that the team doesn't always win. I mean, I didn't realize they went 9-8 last 2 seasons. I know it was last year, but the year before that, they went 9-8 as well. Now, they had Burrow injury stuff during that season, but still. He says, still, it is an apt comparison for Burrow, and the brilliant player is hamstrung by the surrounding pieces. And regardless of how exceptional he is individually, he struggles to enjoy team success and winning games. If you watch that Netflix series, you kind of get an understanding of why. Like, he is a little he's an odd cat. He is an odd dude. Little out there. But he's damn good at throwing the football. He said, I don't know if it's just me, but Burrow feels like he's been in the NFL for nearly a decade. This part was crazy. And I agree with him. He views Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar Jackson as like coming into the NFL together at the same time. And I kind of feel the same way. I'm like, yeah, they're the same group, you know? But actually, Mahomes, Allen, and Jackson were in 2017 and 18 drafts and all became starters in 2018. Burrow wasn't drafted until 2020, which was crazy. I didn't even realize, 2 years makes a big difference there. But I'm like, yeah, I guess Burrow has only been here. And he says that on the Netflix series. He's like, he goes, man, I blink and here I am going into year 5 or year 6 or whatever it is for him. No, year 5, right? Oh, I guess you count 2020. So yeah, it'd be year 6. But yeah, well, he was talking about, it was a season before. So yeah, he was talking about it's sort of year 5 because I feel like if I blink again, it's going to be 10 and then so on. But yeah, he was drafted in 2020 in week 11 of his rookie year. He tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL and meniscus. He tore it all. It's amazing he was able to come back from all that. If Mahomes, Allen, and Jackson are Burrow's closest competition or peers in the NFL due to age and public opinion, we should compare Burrow ranks among the 38 qualifying QBs to where those other 3 rank. Ooh. Almost feels like the class of 83. Damn, I'm showing my age. It's okay, dude. It's okay. We don't judge here. Burrow is number 10 in EPA, number 7 success rate. One of the things that Burrow is crazy in right here, Burrow is the only one who ranks in the top 10 in accuracy. Very accurate. He's number 2. He's also the only one who ranks top 10 in completion rate. Number 1 in the NFL since he's been in the league in completion rate. So he's very accurate. Burrow's had the fewest sacks of any of those 3 quarterbacks. He stands in the shotgun 92% of the time, uses play action just 18.9% of the time, and gets pre-snap motion ahead of just 36.9% of dropbacks. So that's been a new thing in the league, and is a lot of motion. You see it with like the Shanahan tree. You got like a Mike McDaniels and whatnot, but there's a lot of coaches that on offense that trick the defense. There's a lot of motion. Kirk Cousins mentions that in the Netflix thing too. When he first got to Atlanta, one of the things he struggled with was like, man, I'm just not so used to so many motions and getting guys and the timing of everything, getting guys where they need to be and snapping the ball when it should be snapped. Kirk, they're paying you $160 million. I think you should figure that out pretty quick, But Burrow doesn't use any of that mode. He says Burrow amongst the 4 quarterbacks, Burrow has the highest shotgun rate, the lowest play action rate, and the lowest motion rate. The passing attack is entirely reliant on Burrow, just figuring it out without disguise, whereas the other quarterbacks have more disguise built into the offense. That right there, it's like, hey, maybe Zach Taylor, maybe let's just try a little bit more motion, just a little bit. Give the guy a chance, but it shows how good Burrow is at reading the defense and getting the ball where it needs to be, when it needs to be there. But no, who knows? Maybe all that motion would throw him off and, take a hit on his accuracy. I don't know, but maybe they should try it. Burrow has one of the worst run games in the NFL. Since 21, the rushing attack for those 4 quarterbacks, he's number 30th in success rate. The other ones are 20, 3, and 6. That's crazy. Look at all these charts. I love the charts. Oh, so beautiful. Oh, sorry. Let me pump the brakes. I didn't go through their schedule. So they got a week 10 bye. They get to open up against the Browns and the Jags. That's a good way to start the season. Then you get the Vikings, Broncos, and then you get Detroit, but you get Detroit home in week 5. That's going to be a good game. Why is that not a Monday night football game? We got the Broncos Monday night football week before. That's not even a Sunday night football game. You give me Lions Bengals, it's not prime time. What are we doing? Then they go to Green Bay, host Pittsburgh. Look at this stretch right here. Okay, if the Bengals listen, this is why I like looking at this. Look at this right here. So they have start the season 3 or 4 games on the road, but it's not too difficult of a schedule, right? But then look at this stretch. In this 5-week span, they have 4 home games. Home against the Lions, at Green Bay, then 3 straight home games. They're going to be at home for over a month. Pittsburgh, home. Jets, home. Bears, home. They should win all those games. And then they get a bye. And then after the bye is when it gets – this is where we should buy in on the Bengals at the beginning of the season and then sell right here because they should have a good record. And if they don't, then we definitely want to bet against them after week 10 because then they're away in Pittsburgh, home against New England. But then look at this stretch, weeks 13 through 15. This is Thanksgiving game and all that stuff. Oh, man, that's going to be tough. Or Thanksgiving week. They go to Baltimore. Then after they play Baltimore, they go to Buffalo. And then they come back home and they get to play Baltimore. Ooh. That is rough. But they got a nice little way to end the season. They go on the road down to Miami after that ass. I'm looking at Miami, Sunday Night Football, Week 16. After playing the Ravens and Bills for 3 weeks, give me the Dolphins, Week 16. And then they're home. So they go down to Miami and they're home again. They get to close out with 2 home games, home against Arizona, home against Cleveland. Start the season with Cleveland, end it with Cleveland. How about that? Mighty Megatron says motion is an easy way to see if the D is in zone or man and to get those mismatches, whether against the DBs or linebackers. Yeah, and it's crazy that Burrow doesn't need that. Burrow, it's not at this point. It's not luck. He can clearly read a defense, whether it's in zone or man or not, without needing to use motion or that much of it. He is what we like to call a specimen. And he's doing it with a terrible offensive line. Maybe it is bad. Okay, it is worse than I thought. Look at this pass block rankings over the last 4 seasons. 30, 30, 27, 32. Last year, they're the worst pass blocking team. That's pretty amazing. Dude's super accurate, doesn't use motion. He's got the worst offensive line in the league, and he takes the least amount of sacks of those main quarterbacks. That's impressive. Maybe we should work on that. Imagine how he'd be if he was on a competent offense, you know? You're right, Mighty Megatron. You're right. I was just looking at the players that were on that line. I'm like, hey, this can't be that bad. Number 32, that's bad. No other offensive line comes close to being this putrid. Ooh, those strong words. The only teams that come close to the Bengals, ranking 25 or worse in 3 of the last 4 years, but not all 4, are the Colts, Giants, and Panthers. That is not company you want to be with. And this team was in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. With that shitty offensive line, going up against that Rams, no wonder the Rams won. But even with the worst offensive line of the Bengals, look at where these teams stack up in wins over the last 4 years. Bengals are 40-27, which is the 9th best, and then a huge gap. Colts are 18th at 30-37-1. Giants 22-45-1. Grass guy knows that. Grass guy feels that. Grass guy, your team has only had 22 wins in the last 4 years. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. And the Panthers 19-49. Oh, that's all thanks to Burrow, though. It's all thanks to Burrow. If they don't get Burrow help up front, they're going to get Joe seriously hurt. I mean, they already have. They already have gotten him hurt. It's a miracle he's actually out there still. I was saying this last season. I'm like, listen, if you're not going to build a proper team around Joe Burrow, don't waste him. Trade that man. They won't. It never happens. But trade that man to a team that will actually value him. If you don't care about winning. Yeah, you guys have had a rough stretch. Here we go. One of my favorite parts of these breakdowns. Here is why you should bet under 9.5 wins for the 2025 season for the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati had 9 more touchdowns than expected based on yards and red zone trips. And An offense helmed by Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins should routinely exceed their expected touchdown total, but that large margin suggests the offense could take a step back this season. It won't. Cincinnati relies so heavily on its offense that even a small decline could be catastrophic. As long as Burrow's healthy, they'll be fine. The defense remains an issue even with the change in coaching staff. Cincinnati brought a few pieces to patch up the unit, but none of their signings look to be impact players. Oren Burks and TJ Slayton were brought in, but neither player is a guaranteed starter. They'll need rookie Shamar Stewart and Demetrius Knight to hit the ground running. That's always tough to do. The Bengals are notorious for slow starts under Zach Taylor. They started 24 with an 0-3 record, including a Week 1 loss to the Patriots. God, I know. If the Patriots my Patriots wouldn't have beat the Bengals, we would have had number 1 overall pick. And Carter would not be on your Giants grass guy. He would be a Patriot. Ugh. Cincinnati will face the Browns in Cleveland and then the Jags in Week 2 for their home opener. Another lackluster start would probably keep them under their win total. Yeah, dude, if you lose to the Browns and the Jags in Week 1 and 2, it's over. But I'm telling you, we just looked at the schedule. I think they'll be fine. It's after their bye, after their Week 10 bye is when we start looking to fade them. The secondary should be ranked last. Would have, could have, should have. I mean, all Joe had to do was beat my Patriots. We weren't good last year. I don't know how he couldn't do that. Here's why you should bet over 9.5 wins for the 2025 season for the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals won 9 games last season, despite fielding one of the worst defenses in the league. New defensive coordinator Al Golden was hired to fix that issue. Golden previously led one of the best defenses in college football at Notre Dame. If he can get even a bit more production from this group, they will win more games. One-score games were a killer for the Bengals, who finished 4-7 in those scenarios. This includes a heartbreaking defensive pass interception call against the Chiefs. That one, I remember that one. That was, several missed field goals at crucial points in the games and a failed go-ahead 2-point conversion against the Ravens. I remember that one too. I like that they went for 2 there. Didn't get it, but I like it. I like the play call. Cincinnati could have better luck in these games next season. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins were both signed to long-term contracts this offseason. And when both players are on the field, the offense is unstoppable. With both Chase and Higgins on the field at the same time, Joe Burrow averaged 8.2 yards per attempt with a 7.1% touchdown rate last season. As long as both those receivers are healthy, the offseason can go toe-to-toe with anyone. Or the offense can go toe-to-toe with anyone. They also need to just hope Joe stays healthy. This is going to be interesting because the reason why they've gotten off to slow starts too is Joe has been injured a lot. He hasn't actually got to do a full training camp from start to finish. Remember, he had to do that emergency got an appendectomy. He got his appendix removed. What up, Spartan? How we doing? What up, B-Mac? Joe B says he's parking the Batmobile on the Star on the field in Jerry World. That would be cool. But yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. Joe will have hopefully he doesn't get injured this month. He will have a whole training camp with his team. Should be a different team or a different start to the season than in the past. Let's go through some more Burrow stats. Burrow's been sacked 164 times in the last 4 years, the second most in the NFL. What? I thought he was the least. Maybe I read that stat wrong earlier. The next line of thinking requires combining blitz rate with quick pressures. Naturally, the more you are blitzed, the more likely you are to be hit quickly by a defender. That's some very serious technical breakdown there by Warren Sharp. That's high-end stuff right there. But look at this. Burrow has been blitzed at the number 1 lowest rate of any QB over the last 4 years, but no QB has been hit by defenders more quickly than Burrow. Ugh, that line is terrible. Burrow has sustained 148 quick hits with 2.5 seconds within 2.5 seconds of snap, the most in the NFL. The next closest QB is Kirk Cousins at 119, followed by Jared Goff at 104. Burrow has been quick hit nearly 25% more than the number two most hit QB in the NFL. Yeah. They should probably should have had the team focus on signing some big boys instead of T. Higgins again. He was sacked a good amount. I don't know what it's talking about. If not sacked, hurt. hurried badly. Yeah, earlier on, I thought it said the opposite. Maybe I read it wrong, but now he's dropping the stats of yeah, yeah. I guess the O line is that bad. Ugh. Oh baby, he's been quick hit 6.2% of his dropbacks, number one in the NFL. Damn, he's only blitzed 19.3% of the time, which is the lowest rate in the NFL. Third QB for comparisons, Tua Tagovailoa. He is blitzed at slightly higher rate, but still number 4 lowest. Like Mahomes, he's quick hit on just 3.2% of his dropbacks with 61 total quick hits. Burrow's blitzed less often than both, but he's getting hit within 2.5 seconds at over double their rate. Oh, specifically like how are you that bad if you're a professional offensive lineman? I mean, just stand in front of the dude. 2.5 seconds. You can't give your guy 2.5 seconds. What are we doing? What did the Bengals do to improve their line in the 25 offseason after seeing these horrific stacks? Well, they let Alex Kappa, who played in every game, let him go sign with the Rangers. They added guard Lucas Patrick. They also drafted Dylan Fairchild in the 3rd round and Jalen Rivers in the 5th. So to answer your question, to simply have enough bodies, they added 3 guards, a cheap one in free agency and 2 mid-rounders. Left tackle Orlando Brown is back. As long as they got that guy back there, they should be okay. But he was terrible last year. That guy needs to have a kick in the ass and a bounce back season. Amarius Mims is back. Center Ted Karras is back. And left guard Cordell Volson is back. They were all terrible. If you get the sense, this line could be a problem in 25. And that means Burrow will once again be trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. I know it was great. Let's check out the Bengals run game. I know it was great for Chase Brown fantasy managers due to him receiving Superman usage after Zach Moss went down. From an efficiency perspective, though, just look at the advanced metrics on page 2 of this chapter, where the Bengals ranked number 21 in rushing efficiency and 20 in rushing explosiveness. Or look at the down analysis midway through the chapter, where the Bengals' early down run game was terrible despite facing a ton of light boxes. So the boxes aren't stacked. They're not getting blitzed that much, and they still can't run the ball. That's bad. So your offensive line was not just terrible at pass blocking. They're terrible at run blocking. And you decided to bring most of them back. Offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher said of Brown, in a perfect world, it was Orlando Brown. There's probably a little more of a split than you want guys, what you guys witnessed over the second half of last season. As you step back and look at the big picture, I think that's an area we're looking to potentially add some talent, maybe supplement some of that with what Chase was able to give us. But we believe in Chase. He's going to be a huge part of what we're doing going forward. They wanted to add someone, but all they did was bring back older Samaje Perine in free agency. Oh, he's talking about Chase Brown. Sorry. So they don't have a running back. They used a top 30 visit. Okay, yeah, they didn't get him. I predicted that the going will be very tough for the rushing attack, not just from a running back perspective or run blocking perspective, but also from a schedule perspective. I predict the Bengals will play the NFL's number 1 toughest schedule of run defenses this year. All right, so we're going to take all Cincinnati Bengals players under their rush yards and Burrow over the pass yards. What we're going to do. In fact, in their first 5 games, they play 4 teams that ranked top 6 in run defense last year: Broncos, Browns, Lions, Vikings. Swinging over to the defense, there's no bigger story right now than Trey Hendrickson. Okay, we don't have to get into that. We know the Trey Hendrickson stuff. He reported to camp, so we can skip this part of it. I mean, this is the reason why he wants to get paid too. Since 2023, he had back-to-back 17.5 sack seasons. There are only 3 players in NFL history with back-to-back seasons of 17.5 or more. That's Reggie White, J.J. Watt, and Trey Hendrickson. That's why that man wants to be paid. Hendrickson had 35 sacks in the last 2 seasons. No other Bengal had more than 8. Yeah, because he's hogging all of them, man. He's hogging all of them. Here's their draft class. If that interests you, you can check that out. Little tidbits on the players that were drafted. A little tidbit there on the players that were drafted. We won't go into much of that. God, look at all these stats. Tables, charts. Love it. Jamar Chase went off in 24, leading the league in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. He had the triple crown. Among just qualified receivers, he was 7th in yards per route, 13th in yards per target. Chase rightfully got his long-term contract extension in the offseason. Playing in only 12 games, T. Higgins did not have the same success in counting stats as Chase, but he had a very respectable 2.1 yards per route run, earning a target on 24.7% of his routes. He also earned an extension this offseason. So Burrow's got his guys. Burrow has his guys. What's up? True Goy, strong and free. How we doing this morning? Joe Burrow, let's go. Welcome to the jungle. That's right. That's right. Here we go. Here's some fantasy advice. Can Joe Burrow do it again? While we preach the value of running quarterbacks in fantasy football because of their floor and potential ceiling, we see quarterbacks ride their passing production to the top of the fantasy rankings every year. A few QBs managed it last year, but Joe Burrow was the main guy crushing the dual threat party in 24. Despite averaging just 1.9 rushing fantasy points per game, which is 19th among qualified quarterbacks, Burrow finished as the QB3 in per game scoring thanks to his massive 20.04 passing fantasy points per game. That number was over a full point higher than Lamar Jackson and nearly 2 points higher than Baker Mayfield. Baker was a fantasy guru last year. Burrow led the league with 4,918 passing yards, 43 passing touchdowns. It was the most passing touchdowns in a season since Tom Brady in 21, the GOAT. Had to get that in there. All right. Well, I think fantasy advice, we know this. Don't take any of the Bengals running backs. Take Burrow and take Chase and T. Higgins. There you go. There you go. I saved you a little bit. You don't have to read all that. Baker is a bump. Hey, no Baker hate. Love Baker. Baker had a crazy season last year. Had a crazy season. Are you going to do a fantasy league? I haven't done one in a long time. Man, I'm kind of over fantasy, but if there's enough interest amongst our little group here, maybe I'll throw something together for us. We're going to be doing contests, of course. We'll do, and then we have the $100,000 contest that I'll buy a bunch of entries for us. See if we can win that as a group. The super contest, pick 5 picks against the spread each season, but we'll also have like pick 'em contests and fun things like that, like we do every year. Let's see. Oh God, the defensive outlook. Here, let me tell you. Let me just summarize the defensive outlook for the Bengals. Their defense stinks, almost probably worse than their offensive line, which is dead last in the league. So their defense sucks. The Bengals need help on edge, so it makes sense that they added Shamar Stewart in the first round. Stewart is working through contract. He ended up getting that worked out. Yeah. They're hoping that helps. Yeah, I like the pick'ems against the spread. Maybe we'll do both, but I like against the spread better than just straight up. You're good with doing pick'ems versus fantasy? Okay. I'll be putting that stuff out here soon since the season's about to start. Look at this red zone efficiency. They were number 6 in EPA per play and number 2 in pass rate. And they were terrible at running the ball. Kind of what we've learned through this chapter so far. Scoring ranks. Look at they were number. So this will help us for betting. Last year, the Bengals scored the most. Well, not the most, but the first quarter was the first and third quarters. Look at that. They were number 5 in the league in points in the first and third quarter. We could use that to our advantage. We can use that to our advantage. Look at the points margin. In the first half, they were net plus 40 points margins. In the second half, they were net -5. They look at first quarter points. Over the course of the season, they scored 100 more points than their opponents in the first quarter. And 112 points more in the third quarter. So the Bengals, first quarter, third quarter. That's what we're betting. This is why I like to look through some of this stuff. We always find little nuggets to give us a little betting edge for the upcoming season. This is the Bears year, like every year. We covered the Bears yesterday. Gonna be interesting. No surprise, but when they're in the red zone, Jamar Chase gets all the targets. He got 36 targets in the red zone. Surprisingly, this is the first one that we've seen. When they're inside the 5-yard line, Jamar Chase is actually the most targeted guy there, and also when they're between 11 and 20 yards. I mean, let's just be honest. Any chance he gets, he's looking for Chase. T. Higgins, rightfully so, right behind him. Then it falls off. Bengals this season play the 17th toughest schedule. So right in the middle. Let's talk about Hendrickson still. Over the last 2 years, Hendrickson massively outplayed the deal he signed back in 21 and the 1-year extension he signed before 23. Well, maybe don't sign the extension then, dude. What are you doing? He signs that extension, and then he has 2 of the best years we've ever seen. With him not playing, meaning he's off the field, their pass defense ranks dead last in every category. And they won't pay this man. But when Hendrickson does play, the Bengals pass defense ranks top 12 in every one of these stats. So he takes a team, this is how important this guy is. He takes a team that ranks dead last and gets them into the top 12 by him just being on the field. That guy's a specimen. He is a specimen, as Gronk would like to say. That's crazy. But wait, it gets worse. Those stats are not schedule adjusted, and the Bengals defense played the number one easiest schedule of offenses and number one easiest schedule of quarterbacks last year. Yeah, that was another thing. That's how they got to 9 wins. They played either a rookie quarterback or a backup quarterback in their in the majority of their games last season. The Bengals had a bad defense, but it came against the number 8 toughest schedule of offenses. In my 24 preview last summer, I predicted the Bengals defense would play in the number 2 easiest schedule of offense, number 1 easiest schedule of quarterbacks. And that's exactly how it happened. He was dead on with his projections, but it didn't matter. The 24 Bengals, even though playing such easy offenses, were terrible defensively. And here's a list of quarterbacks they faced last year: Jacoby Brissett, Daniel Jones, Jameis Winston, Sean Watson, DTR, Gardner Minshew, shout out Iakug, Desmond Ridder, Cooper Rush, Mason Rudolph, Will Levis, DTR for a second time, Andy Dalton, and Russell Wilson twice. When the Bengals went on a 5-0 run to close the season with a winning record, in consecutive weeks, they beat Cooper Rush, Mason Rudolph / Will Levis, DTR, Bo Nix, and Russell Wilson. I don't think that's anything to write home about. I said, but wait, it gets worse twice already. Unfortunately, I need to say it again. But wait, it gets worse. In 25, I predict the Bengals defense will shift from playing the number 1 easiest schedule of offenses to the number 10th hardest schedule of offenses. It's the number 1 largest increase in schedule difficulty for any defense. And for a defense that was terrible against the number 1 easiest schedule, it could be very problematic, regardless of whether Hendrickson plays or not. He's going to play, so. In fact, from week 8 onward, the Bengals play in 5 games with rest variance, and they are the team with extra rest in 4 of the 5. We talked about that earlier. They must play in Baltimore on Thursday night for a 3rd straight season, which is extremely unfair, but at least they host the Steelers for a Thursday night game earlier in the season, putting the Steelers at a disadvantage. What happened to Russell Wilson country? Let's ride. He rode that horse right out of town and went to Pittsburgh. Now he's in New York. So here we are again, staring down another Bengals season with the same maddening contradiction. They have Joe Burrow, and yet the offensive line remains a revolving door of replacement level bodies, and yet the run game isn't capable of supporting the passing game and is facing the number one toughest schedule of run defenses. And yet the defense, when not entirely dependent on Trey Hendrickson's individual brilliance, is a C even against the weakest offenses the NFL had to offer last year. It's almost unfair to Burrow. Scratch that. It is unfair. No other elite quarterback is being asked to do more with less. The tape, the stat. But, part of that is Burrow's own fault. He wanted Chase and Higgins to both get paid. You could have had him do – look at Ben Johnson left Detroit, went to Chicago, and first thing he did was go sign some big boys to protect his quarterback because he knows how important that is. But I guess I'm asking too much of Bengal ownership to figure that out. All of it screams the same thing. This man is dragging an underbuilt roster uphill every week, and yet somehow he keeps them in the mix. The Bengals are one of the few teams in the NFL whose floor and ceiling are almost entirely tied to one player. And the gap between those two possibilities, between what Burrow can carry and what the rest of the roster might sabotage, is massive. If Hendrickson doesn't suit up, the defense might collapse. If the line doesn't protect better, Burrow might not finish the season. If the run game remains stuck in neutral, every drive becomes a gauntlet. This team doesn't need a miracle. It needs to finally start supporting Joe Burrow. And the rest of the league needs to start realizing what Joe Burrow is dealing with that no other superstar quarterback in the NFL has to deal with to win games, not because of, but in spite of it. Well, there you go. There you go. This little Bengals preview. A little Bengals preview for you. I love going through this because there's so much good data in here from a betting perspective. Like, I kind of am tempted now to take a look at Bengals all under. Can we get Bengals under 7.5? Could the Bengals finish with the worst record in the league? I mean, Joe Burrow goes down. This team. Joe Burrow goes down. Even Joe Burrow stays healthy. Trey Hendrickson goes down. We saw the defense is dead last. If they lose to the Browns and the Jags to start the season, it's going to be a rough ride. But if they can't keep Burrow up, which they've shown they can't, he has injury history. That line is terrible. They didn't really nothing to address it. It's going to be interesting, man. I'm kind of tempted from a betting perspective to look at under on the Bengals. This is the team that's going to be such high variance. Like, you could take an alt line under 7.5, get plus money there, and then take an alt line over 11.5 or 10.5 and get a lot of plus money there. And it could go either way. This team is either going to be really, really good or really bad. I doubt they land right at 9 or 10 wins. I highly doubt it. But that is your Bengals 2025 preview. If you're enjoying this, make sure you like this video, share it out there, subscribe to the channel. Got a lot of we've gone over a handful of teams already. We're going to keep going through them through the months of August. You can go check out the previous ones we did. Maybe we covered your team. Go check that out. Make sure you smash the like button there. We'll catch you on the next.